again. So I'll, in this window now, I'll call this, and notice this, by the way, no spaces. I cannot emphasize how important that is. Don't put spaces in file names. It's just trouble. Keep your spaces out of your file names and your life will be easier and happier, I promise you. Put them in file names and deal with it at your own, deal with it basically. I'm not going to use them. Okay, I have this thing called Fade Gag now, and I'm going to make a web page with a simple fade in and out of me, and we'll put a sound effect with it too, just to show you what type of stuff we can get in and out of the program and how we're going to get it, okay? Let me open our program, which is Adobe Edge. I'm going to click it, double click it. Okay, Adobe Edge opens, you'll see it starts with resources, which are web-based, which gets back to this thing of Adobe's where they really want you to have an Adobe ID, which you probably should get if you don't have it already, and they want you to be able to share in all of those assets out on the web. Now, with that said, I recommend you play around with these when you get time, but for now, I'm going to create a new web page entirely, and it starts with this thing called the stage, and the stage is the platform from which everything else is built up on. It's basically the background of the web page. I'm going to give it a resolution that I like. It's not necessarily a standard resolution, but this gets into those file maintenance issues. I used to have a friend, and she worked for a very, very big accounting firm. Like, I mean, huge, worldwide. And her job was called web compliance. She had to go to every website of every national office and make sure that, like, the logo for the company was the right size, up and down and left and right. And she had to make sure that, like, when you click the home button, it goes to their home screen and not to another home screen. And if they didn't do this, they could get in trouble, because each country's laws would dictate that you have to be able to get to this resource from this button, and another country would state something else, and then some local web designer would change something, and she literally had to go around and all day just make sure that every pixel was in the right place. I'm saying that here because we can be looser about that. The resolution I'm going to use is 1024. Am I going to do it that way? No, I'm going to do, actually, the width is going to be 1280 and the height's going to be 1024. Just because it's a fairly large resolution that I'm used to working in. And you'll see if I zoom out, and by the way, we have all this Adobe-ness going on here. When I click on that and slide and drag, I can change what I'm doing. Okay, now let's talk about assets in here. We look at our screen layout, we have our pretty normal Adobe stuff here. Oftentimes you'll have another, if I show you this workspace, default, reset default, yes. This is what they give you by default. You'll notice they have this bar over here which goes back to those lessons, some of which are online and which, again, you are welcome to use. I recommend you do. To me, that's kind of a waste of my screen real estate right now, so I'm just going to ditch it. And this gives me more to work with. I have my timeline, which we talked a little bit about last week. We'll talk about more this week. We have the actual stage itself. We have the parameters I can animate. Remember, wherever I see a little diamond, I have something I can keyframe and animate. If I wanted to, and I don't know why I'd want to do this, but I could clearly animate the size of the stage. I'm not going to. Then we have elements, which is like a layers panel. It's actually where I can switch the order of the way we see things, and it's also, and then also like a layers panel. Library is the last thing we're looking at here, which is where we put our stuff. If I click images, I get something that lets me bring in images, but I want to show you this. If I go to image formats, this is what I have. PNG, GIF, JPEG and SVG. And there's very good reasons for this. The web is built on those. We're going to talk about the file formats, but meanwhile, I'm going to open something in Photoshop, which you'll notice they do not take directly, and set it up to be brought over here. I'll minimize this, leaving it like that, and we'll head over to Photoshop. Photoshop, Photoshop, Photoshop. Here's Photoshop. I'll close that. I want to try a gag, and the gag is going to be me in that window doing a fade. So I can be there or not be there, and it's actually a fairly standard gag. But the first thing I need is I need a version of me there. So let's click that. And we can now save this screen image. And I'll fill it out to the full size of it. And this is just an asset I'm using. I could get assets from anywhere. I click the Save button. Right away, we're getting into a file management issue. I'm going to put this in the folder I made. That way it'll be easier to track it down. Probably if I click Date Modified, Francis is up top, which is good, and Fade Gag is here. And I could make a new folder here, which would probably be wise, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to call this Foreground, because I know I'm going to use this as a foreground, and you'll see that it saves as PNG. That's the only choice this has. It's a web-based thing. I need what's called a clean plate, which is me not on that background, which means I have to fairly carefully slide out of the way to get another shot. Okay. Now let's grab this one. We'll go like that, roughly. I should probably close that too. Save it. Hopefully it's in the same path. No, it's not. Means you have to find that whole path again. Francis, Fade Gag, good. I'm going to call this Background. Now let's go into Photoshop. We'll follow our paths, 298, Francis, you see how much junk I have around here, Fade Gag. You know what, let's bring in both of them. I'll hold on my Shift key, and bang, we have them both in there. 1, 2, clean plate, not clean plate. So now I need to get rid of my background in one of these images. This one, obviously, and this is our normal old Photoshop. You notice even here, they got Creative Cloud set up there, which again is how much Adobe is interested in putting everybody on the web and making everything work from the web. I'm going to quickly use a pen tool to outline myself here. That'll work. We'll go like that. And I'm just using a selection tool that I happen to know works fairly fast. You know, your mileage may vary, as they say. Something about Photoshop, and I believe this strongly. The best users of Photoshop by far, I'm going to regret that, are the people who can select the best. So if you think about Photoshop, probably 30% of this whole program is selections. And basically anybody can push a filter button. See, now I have to move some of these. Oh, that's actually a little bit better. Ooh, Control Z that. I'm going to go back to this path, and I want to do a little bit of path adjustment. I don't want to get too caught up with this because I'll get too caught up with this. I have to remember my Adobe-ness now. If you hold down Control, I think you get, yep, that's what I'm looking for. The right things to pull this in place. And I'll kind of push that around a little bit. And I'll maybe move this one in a tad. Okay, now I'm just playing with, now I'm just wasting time actually. I like that outline shape. I'm going to turn that into a selection because this is what I'm going to use for the background on the other plate. I'll pop down here to paths. I'll right mouse it. I will make that a selection. It's a relatively low res image. It's about 640 by 480. So 1 pixel should be fine. And I will go like that. Edit, copy it. Let's pop over here. And we will paste it into a new layer. Can I just paste it? I wonder if I can just paste it. Let's go to layers so I make sure I don't overwrite something. Paste. Yep, new layer. Look at that. I have to adjust it a little bit, but not that much, hopefully. I'll put this here. We'll put that there. What do you think? That sells, right? It looks like I was there all the time. Good. That's what we were looking for. This is going to be the part of this gag. So now what I got is I have my 2 layers, my background and my foreground, and I have to get these over into Edge. We have a tool here, File, Extract Assets. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that Adobe is very concerned about getting their web standards in place. This is designed to put things out in the right format. You notice this goes to PNG. A slight digression on those formats, PNG and GIF and JPEG and SVG. GIF is an older format that is encumbered with copyrights. It's actually still owned by CompuServe, I think, if anybody remembers CompuServe, which hasn't been around for a long time. But the worry with GIF is that someone could start to charge you to use it, which is one of the reasons they made PNG. They made PNG so that they could have an unencumbered version of GIF, and when they did it, they gave it a couple extra features, like it has an alpha channel, meaning I can actually put a background on it, which is good. That's what I want to do. GIFs just tend to be older. When you see a website that has a lot of old GIF stuff, it's because they haven't changed over. At one point, we'll talk about animated PNGs and GIFs, but we don't need to right now. JPEG is a very old format that has no alpha channel. It is very good at compression, and it's generally the way people share images because it makes images small online, but since it doesn't have alpha channels, it's not good for compositing stuff. And SVG is a text-based vector format. So if I want to bring vector art over, and I can, I bring it over in SVG format. This, you'll see, actually have a choice here. This gives me all of those choices because those are all web-based choices. PNG 32 is a 24-bit image with an 8-bit alpha channel, which is what I want. And I'm going to hit extract, and I'm fine with that. It's going to make them safe for the web. I'm going to find those paths again. Let's see here. Francis, there we go. And inside that, we should have fade, gag. Good. And actually, look at that. It's already pathed. Huh. Background assets. I'll hit OK. And it put that in there as layer 1 PNG. I'm good with that. Let's take the other one, the background, and we'll do the same extract assets. Good. Extract. OK. And hopefully it's going to be pathed to the same place. And it is. OK. But it'll be good if this works. Yes, look at that. Layer 0, layer 1. Minimize this. Let's head back over here to Edge. If I go under Images and hit the plus, I can import. Oh, look at that. It's already in the right place. We'll select both of them. And that brings them in over to the library, but not actually over to the stage yet. To do that, we'll drop that, hit OK, and we'll drop this and hit OK. And you'll see that those are in the wrong order right now. I cannot adjust that here, but I can here. See that? Let's resize everything. If I go here and pull this like this, good. And then I'll go here And I'll pull this like that. Yeah, oh, no we won't. I'll hold down my shift key so at least I stay in proper perspective. And I'll put myself somewhere like there, though I'll make myself a little bit bigger, maybe like that. I can compare it left and right. That looks pretty good, although I'll make myself look just a bit thinner. Why not? Okay, that's where I want to start from. I'm good with that. I now have this whole gag set up. I basically only, you know what I got to do is I got to pull the bottom down here a little bit. Really only on one layer, which is this one, have to worry about that. So we'll keyframe me not there at all, like that. And I'll go up to maybe a second or so, and I will keyframe myself still at nowhere. And then I'll take a second and a half to come up to 100%, like that. Now let's take a look at it. We'll preview in browser. And I should sort of magically appear. Okay, that's not bad. Let's add something else. Let's add a sound effect to it. You'll notice I have audio as a possibility. I also have video, which we can talk about, fonts, scripts. These are all things that we can put together to make a web page. I'm just going to bring in one other thing, but then I'm going to allow you to play with whatever you want there in terms of these other things you can play with. And again, your own artwork, so on and so forth. I need some sound effect. I'm going to go, yes. I'm going to go here. I already have a place to get them. This is a place called Sound Dogs that actually sells sound effects. They sell them, and you could buy them, and you should buy them, and all that. But they also give you 10-second samples for free. So if I put in something like slide whistle, I will get all of these various slide whistles. If I click one, it will play. We won't hear it because of an audio thing. I'm going to do something to adjust that, and you'll lose my audio for a moment. Turn that off. Not yet. Good, good, okay. Okay. I brought slide whistle in there. We like the sound of it. What I have to do is say where it's going to play. I'm going to have it play from here on, from that 1 second mark. So if I hit this plus, play from, and I'll enter the 1 second mark. Now if I did that properly and we preview it, we should be able to see it here, actually see and hear it here, I should say. We're not seeing that because we don't have the audio up. I'm going to turn the audio up. Let me kill this and let me turn this back up. To fix that audio thing there. Although there's another way I could go about this, and this is not the prettiest way in the world, but what I'm going to do is shorten my fade up just to see if I can get away with it. File, preview in browser. Okay, and actually you heard a little of that. Let's try it one more time. We'll reload it. Has to be even shorter. I'll make my fade happen like this, which is more of a pop-on, but whatever. File, preview in browser. See that? That's actually an interesting thing about syncing stuff. If I put any sound next to any image and line them up, you kind of get this correspondence. Okay, you do not have to do this. You can do it if you want, and the main purpose of this exercise has been to show you how to get assets back and forth and how to work with them in this interface. And the idea of what goes on over here with the elements as a layers panel and our timeline and a little bit about keyframing again, okay? I'm going to